On the 24th of March 1933, German President Paul von Hindenburg signed the Enabling Act giving Hitler total power in Germany. The previous day, Hitler had managed to get a two-thirds majority in the Reichstag for this, thanks not only to threats which meant that many socialist candidates were now in exile and the banning of the Communist Party, but also the support of the Catholic Centre Party. Later, Hitler was to reach a concordat with the Pope in agreement with his deal with the Centre Party, which, let's face it, was a remarkably small price to pay for his dictatorship. So how was this possible? In the November 1932 elections, the Nazis lost around 15% of their vote compared to the previous election, but remained the largest single party in the Reichstag. On 30th of January 1933, Hitler had been appointed Chancellor with a minority of Nazis in the cabinet. On the 27th of February 1933, arsonists set alight to the Reichstag, and as a result of this, Hitler persuaded von Hindenburg to suspend many civil liberties in what has been called the Reichstag Fire Decree. This meant the arrest of opposition members of Parliament who were thus unable to contest seats in the 5th of March 1933 general election. In the climate of fear created by the Nazis, they got 43.8% of the vote. The 8% of their partners, the DNVP, that's German National People's Party, took them over the line. What we now call the Enabling Act was then called the law to remedy the distress of the people and the Reich. It allowed the cabinet to enact laws that deviate from the constitution as long as they did not affect parliamentary institutions and the rights of the president. Laws would be published in the official gazette in the normal way and take effect on the following day, unless a different date was specified. The government could make treaties with foreign powers bypassing the legislative authorities. The fifth point clearly stated that it expired at the latest on the 1st of April 1937, assuming that the Reich government was not replaced by another earlier. It needs to be pointed out that there was nothing new with enabling laws, as other chancellors of the Weimar Republic had virtually ruled with them. However, none of them had turned the system into a dictatorship as Hitler did. I think this came about because of the Nazi control of the police, which was already quite a conservative organisation, and with it anti-communist, and to that matter also anti-socialist. The laws allowing them to arrest political opponents following the Reichstag fire, and President Hindenburg's failing health, which meant that he was coming under more pressure from his son Oskar and Franz von Papen, both of whom thought that they could control Hitler for their own ends. Given that the Enabling Act had been used in the past, and that its own rights remained unaffected, and that the law placed strict limits on it, Hindenburg may have felt less uneasy about it as he should have done. Hindenburg lived a little over another 16 months, and during that time the respect for his office may have placed a slight brake on Hitler, but one could also suggest that it was a time when the Nazis were able to consolidate their power. Hindenburg wrote in his will, apparently, that Hitler needed to be removed from power. However, Hindenburg had no more right to appoint a successor than Lenin had done in allegedly writing that Stalin was not to follow him. One could say, of course, that it's a pity neither Hindenburg nor Stalin had done something about the person who was to be their successor when they were in a position to do something about it. The Enabling Act was valid for 4 years. In March 1933, Hitler emphasized that the new law was not the abolition of the Reichstag, as he'd only intended to use it in cases of emergency, which was what it was planned for. However, from then on, Hitler and his cabinet ruled independently and within a few months the Nazi Party was the only party left in the Reichstag. The Enabling Act was renewed in 1937 and 1939. In 1942, the Reichstag gave Hitler total power to do whatever he wanted, which in effect was already the situation. In 1943, Hitler announced that he did not need to renew the Enabling Act anymore, and it was permanently in force. So, thanks for listening and watching to this video. If you found that of interest, please do subscribe.